¿Qué bacana? ¿Cómo estás pasándolo?
Ay,
¿Cómo estás pasándolo?
de bomba.
No diga bomba aquí, ¿eh? Con tanta guerra que ha habido. Aquí está ya el Rati. Vamos a tirar para Omaha.
Hoy también.
In World War II, Pointe du Hoc was the location of a series of German bunkers and machine gun posts. Prior to the invasion of Normandy, the German army fortified the area with concrete casemates and gun pits. On D-Day, the United States Army Provisional Ranger Group attacked and captured Pointe du Hoc after scaling the cliffs. United States generals, including Dwight D. Eisenhower, had determined that the place housed artillery that could slow down nearby beach attacks. Pointe du Hoc lies 6.5 kilometers, 4 miles west of the center of Omaha Beach. As part of the Atlantic Wall fortifications, the prominent cliff-top location was fortified by the Germans. The battery was initially built in 1943 to house 6 captured French First World War vintage GPF 155mm K418F guns positioned in open concrete gun pits. The battery was garrisoned by the 2nd Battery of Army Coastal Artillery Battalion 1260 to defend the promontory from attack. Elements of the 352nd Infantry Division were also stationed at the battery. To provide increased defense capability, the Germans began to improve the defenses of the battery in the spring of 1944, with enclosed H671 concrete casemates being started and the older 155mm guns displaced. The plan was to build 6 casemates, but 2 were unfinished when the location was attacked. The casemates were built over and in front of the circular gun pits which housed the 155mm guns. Also built was a H636 observation bunker and L409A mounts for 20mm flak 30 anti-aircraft guns. The 155mm guns would have threatened the Allied landings at Omaha and the Utah beaches when finished, risking heavy casualties to the landing forces. In the months before D-Day, the Germans were recorded by Allied intelligence removing the guns one by one as they redeveloped the site with the final aim of 4 casemates facing Utah Beach and the possibility of 2 times 155mm guns in open emplacements. During the preparation for Operation Overlord, it was determined by Lieutenant Colonel James L. Rudder that Pointe du Hoc should be attacked by ground forces to prevent the Germans using the casemates. Recently released documents in the US archives show that Rudder knew prior to landing that the casemates were unfinished and only 2 were actually structurally close to being ready. They remain that way today. The US 2nd and 5th Ranger Battalions were given the task of assaulting the strong point early on D-Day. Elements of the 2nd Battalion went in to attack Pointe du Hoc, but delays meant the remainder of the 2nd Battalion and the complete 5th Battalion landed at Omaha Beach as a secondary landing position. Though the Germans had removed the main armament from Pointe du Hoc, the beaches were shelled by field artillery from the nearby Macy Battery. On the fire support plan of heavy cruiser HMS Hawkins, the rediscovery of the battery at Macy had shown that it was responsible for firing on the Allied beaches until 9th of June 1944. Pointe du Hoc lay within General Leonard Gero's 5th Corps field of operations. This then went to the 1st Infantry Division, the big red one, and then down to the right-hand assault formation, the 116th Infantry Regiment attached from 29th Division. In addition, they were given 2 Ranger battalions to undertake the attack. The Ranger battalions were commanded by Lieutenant Colonel James Earl Rudder. The plan called for the 3 companies of Rangers to be landed by sea at the foot of the cliffs, scale them using ropes, ladders and grapples while under enemy fire, and engage the enemy at the top of the cliff. This was to be carried out before the main landings. The Rangers trained for the cliff assault on the Isle of Wight under the direction of British commandos. Major Cleveland A. Little was to command companies D, E and F of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, known as Force A, in the assault at Pointe. During a briefing aboard the landing ship infantry TSS Ben Macri, he heard the French resistance sources reported the guns had been removed. Impelled to some degree by alcohol, Little became quite vocal that the assault would be unnecessary and suicidal, and was relieved of his command at the last minute by Provisional Ranger Force. Commander Rudder felt that Little could not convincingly lead a force with a mission that he did not believe in. Little was later transferred to the 19th Infantry Division, where he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. The original plans had called for an additional larger Ranger force of 8 companies, companies A and B of the 2nd Ranger Battalion and the entire 5th Ranger Battalion, to follow the first attack, if successful. Flares from the cliff tops were to signal this second wave to join the attack, but because of the delayed landing, the signal came too late, and the other Rangers landed at Omaha instead of Pointe. The added impetus these 500 plus Rangers provided on the stalled Omaha beach landing has been conjectured to have averted a disastrous failure there, since they carried the assault beyond the beach into the overlooking bluffs and outflanked the German defences. When the Rangers made it to the top at Pointe, they had sustained 15 casualties. Ranger casualties on the beach totaled about 15, most of them from raking fire to the left. The force also found that the radios were ineffective. Upon reaching the fortifications, most of the Rangers learned for the first time that the main objective of the assault, the artillery battery, had been removed. The Rangers regrouped at the top of the cliffs, and a small patrol went off in search of guns. 2 different patrols found 5 of the 6 guns nearby. The 6 were being fixed elsewhere, and destroying their firing mechanism with thermite grenades. Ralph, the Americans are coming, Ralph. Once captured, Pointe did not result in any observational disadvantage for the German army, as they already used the taller chateau houses and churches in the area. The small unit's action report, written by US Army Intelligence, states that there were times when the Rangers did not see a single German after initial fighting. Historians suggest this gave Lieutenant Colonel Rudder the time to have continued with his objectives. No documentary evidence has been produced ordering Rudder to stay and guard the road behind Pointe or wait for reinforcements. Yet that version of events is often stated as factual in books written prior to 2012. That said, after 2 days of fighting, 77 of the 225 soldiers that landed at Pointe had been killed, with another 152 wounded, showing that there was indeed fierce fighting occurring. The costliest part of the battle for Pointe du Hoc for the Rangers came after the successful cliff assault. Determined to hold the vital high ground, yet isolated from other Allied forces, the Rangers fended off several counterattacks from the German 914th Grenadier Regiment. The 5th Ranger Battalion and elements of the 116th Infantry Regiment headed towards Pointe du Hoc from Omaha Beach. However, only 23 Rangers from the 5th were able to link up with the 2nd Rangers during the evening of the 6th of June 1944. During the night, the Germans forced the Rangers into a smaller enclave along the cliff, and some were taken prisoner. It was not until the morning of the 8th of June that the Rangers at Pointe were finally relieved by the 2nd and 5th Rangers, plus the 1st Battalion of the 116th Infantry, accompanied by tanks from the 743rd Tank Battalion. When the Rangers began suffering heavy losses, brief consideration was given to sending in the 84-man Marine detachment aboard the battleship USS Texas on the morning of the 7th of June. At the last minute, word was passed down for the Army chain of command that no Marines would be allowed to go ashore, not even providing armed escort or landing craft ferrying Army troops or supplies. Pointe the Hawk. Rather than the cavalry mechanics are coming to sit for his foot. And my goodness, Rangers with a boy. خلاص ثم دخلت دفعت أمريكا تكمل جمد. Ring. Rommel. Airplane Rommel. Yes. Plenty of American ships out of them. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
These Americans are coming on. South. Oops, sorry. You Rangers. When you no esperaba la boca subiera sin vibration. Can you see the American invasion? They're coming. They're coming down the mountain when they come. You can see American legs. Willkommen. Wat in je hoodie? Toen nog vriend nou, vriend voort. Zijn we lang? Nee, wacht even. Ik heb er niet. Willkommen this way. Then you need BMW. Look what happens. You get destroyed. This way up.
Geen wind.
At the end of the two-day action, the initial Ranger landing force of 225 plus was reduced to about 90 fighting men. In the aftermath of the battle, some Rangers became convinced that French civilians had taken part in the fighting on the German side. A number of French civilians accused of shooting at US forces or of serving as artillery observers for the Germans were executed. These are the boys of Pointe. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. These are the heroes who helped end a war. President Ronald Reagan on the 40th anniversary of D-Day. To have walked around Pointe on the 6th of June 2023, 79 years later, gives us immense pride and gratitude to those men who climbed into history as heroes and liberators. We thank them for their self-sacrifice and valor. They have been immortalized as saviors of freedom, and we shall never forget their bravery. Here we go, following the Lost Patrol on our quest to see the British side of Normandy, on our way to Pegasus Bridge. The day had changed from a dull, windy morning that looked as if it was going to rain, and here in the afternoon you can see such a lovely sunny day on the French countryside. And following these gentlemen on their vintage World War II motorcycles. What a ride. To be in Normandy during the D-Day celebrations is an unforgettable experience. I highly recommend young and old to go and see it for yourselves. See the beaches, visit the museums, go to the surrounding towns, enjoy Normandy. It's fantastic. And don't forget to enjoy the French cuisine. Or, if you like, the nice American hamburgers. Este no es el propio está del otro lado. El propio está del otro lado. Ahora cruzamos ahora. ¿Y un rink? Pegasus Bridge. On the night of the 5th of June 1944, a force of 181 men led by Major John Howard took off from areas Taron Rashton in Dorset, southern England, in 6 Horsa gliders to capture Pegasus Bridge and also Horsa Bridge. A few hundred yards to the east over the Orne River, The force was composed of D Company, reinforced with 2 platoons of B Company, 2nd Battalion, Oxford and Bags Light Infantry, 20 sappers of the Royal Engineers of 249th Field Company Airborne, and men of the Glider Pirate Regiment. The object of this action was to prevent German armour from crossing the bridges and attacking the eastern flank of the landings at Sword Beach. 5 of the Ox and Bags gliders landed as close as 47 yards from their objectives from 16 minutes past midnight. The attackers poured out of their battered gliders, completely surprising the German defenders, and took the bridges within 10 minutes. They lost 2 men in the process, Lieutenant Dan Brotherbridge and Lance Corporal Fred Greenhalgh. Qual foto gli hago vídeo? Nice and tranquil. That night, 6th of June. Early in the morning, we landed here. First shots were fired by British pirates. Captured Pegasus Bridge by the Seal Jones. What are they going? Pegasus Bridge. It was Glider Lieutenant R.A. Smith, mounted by Staff Sergeant Markway and Boyle, and also carrying Captain J. Vaughan, Royal Army Medical Corps. And 28 soldiers landed on this spot at 0018 hours, 6th of June 1944. Greenhalgh drowned in a nearby pond where his glider landed. Lieutenant Brotherbridge was mortally wounded crossing the bridge in the first minutes of the assault and became the first member of the invading Allied armies to die as a result of enemy fire on D-Day. These spots mark where all the gliders fell. One glider assigned to the capture of the Orne River Bridge landed at the bridge over the River Dives, some 7 miles off. Most of the soldiers in the glider moved through German lines towards the village of Vanville, where they eventually rejoined the British forces. The Ox and Bags were reinforced at 300 hours by Lieutenant Colonel Pine Coffin's 7th Parachute Battalion and linked up with the beach landing forces with the arrival of Lovat's commandos. Among the first of the 7 Battalion reinforcements was Lieutenant Richard Todd, a young actor who nearly 2 decades later would play Major Howard in the film The Longest Day.